This is what I mean often with elbow rotation, because it's not completely clear, I think. If you look at the line inside your elbow, and I point to forward, you can see that my right one is basically facing flat towards you, where this one is still showing in, which means my shoulder is probably not rotated backward enough, and so this whole rotation is lacking. And so why it's important to have that upper rotation here for your arm to make that reach motion, because if it's all turned in, you know, we're fighting the rotation in the arm to actually make that reach. So although it's how frustrating it is with your hand, and I'm frustrated and I'm scared sometimes and angry, but you need to focus, you know, through everything. Your shoulder is the highway to your hand, and this needs to be in position to be able to go there, rather than the good old chicken wing and try to grab things in all kinds of odd motions. So simply test it this way, you know, or put your arms when you're standing beside you and have a look where this is pointing. Especially when you're standing, it's easier to rotate your shoulder back and at least put that in the correct position, and then your arm will still come up as here, but it gives you some focus to make that rotation in everything, so you can grip things. And you know, often when you hold something, you can kind of rotate it out and really try to pay attention to what you're doing in your shoulder blade. The problem, of course, is that as soon as I turn my shoulder blade, that I start pulling in my elbow because of the tightness through here, and the lack of the correct muscle stability of my shoulder. So you could overcome some of it with an elbow brace, so all the focus goes to rotation and shoulder position, because if my elbow goes out, my shoulder blade also is affected. Yeah, hope it makes some sense. Check that elbow position. I found it a really helpful reference in seeing where things are, because in the beginning it was turned way more inside, and that's just clearly indicating that you know, my shoulder was not placing my arm in the correct rotation, and that was specifically due to the shoulder subluxation. You could stick 2.5 fingers underneath here. I can still feel a dent here, but if I pull my arm up and rotate it, it almost feels gone. It's mainly on the back then. So there's still a lot of muscle missing there. It's reasonably flat, so that I haven't broken shoulder for a while. Let's look. I'm not sure if you can see it this way. See how flat it is here? It's like, it's just nothing there. It's all bony. But it's a lot rounder than it was. It's like just nothing here. But it takes forever, and we all know it's complex. I had a conversation with the lady from the gym the other day, and she had a second knee operation, and I think she's on 12 to 14 months rehab journey, and that's just one knee, you know. So we sometimes have to try and be realistic. If you compare it to a single injury where we have a whole side to deal with, and it's very difficult because it's there's just too many elements to deal with, and each component takes time. It's apparently it takes 6 weeks to get a neural pathway going. So if you imagine that it just takes 6 weeks at least to get the pathway to something going, then it takes 6 weeks before you can actually start trying to exercise it. So we constantly have to stretch those nerves and move those muscles around. And ideally, if you can't do it yourselves, do it passively. It's one thing I know too with my arm, like that the frequency of physiotherapy has dropped significantly, and so there's less passive help. I can do more myself, but you do notice you're not getting taken through certain motions, and that makes me less active in it as well. As hard as I want to try it, it's really hard to get certain patterns going. Okay, that's it for now. Keep working.